Hello and welcome. So we are continuing now with this work that is Form 3 work in history. Now the topic that we're going to look at this time around, just as we promised each other last time, we said we are going to start a new topic, very new, and this one is the European occupation and administration of Central Africa. Remember, when we talk of Central Africa, we mean Zambia, Malawi, and Zimbabwe. So in this time around, we'll be talking about Southern Rhodesia, and from there we may be talking of Northern Rhodesia, which is Zambia, and later on we'll also talk of Nyasaland. So Southern Rhodesia is Zimbabwe, Northern Rhodesia Zambia, and Nyasaland it's our own Malawi. So let's be together in this topic. It's yet another wonderful topic that we are going to explore a number of issues again on how the Europeans came and settled or administered Central African countries. So we'll start with how they occupied and administered Southern Rhodesia, which is Zimbabwe. So talking about Southern Rhodesia, it is the land between Limpopo and Zambezi. It was an area of great interest to the British, the Portuguese, and the Boers. So the Boers were interested in the land that lies between River Zambezi and the River Limpopo. So the Portuguese, the British, and the Boers, they were competing, they were eyeing for that land. And the British eventually, they were the ones who occupied the area through the British South African Company, which was also called the BSA Company. So that is the thing that we are going to talk about more in this lesson as we proceed. So the company was formed by a British tycoon or business tycoon, or a very wealthy and powerful business person. And this person was called Cecil John Rhodes. Cecil John Rhodes. So he was based in South Africa. He was a British national based in South Africa. So he was the one who formed that BSA company that later on occupied Central African countries. So the area was renamed Rhodesia. The area later was named Rhodesia. So you can know the reason why it was named Rhodesia. It was after Cecil John Rhodes. Now, before we proceed, before we enter into the interior of this topic, it is really vital for us to know the factors. What were the factors that led to the British interest in Southern Rhodesia, that is Zimbabwe? Why were they interested in Southern Rhodesia? So number one was the mineral speculation. It was because of mineral speculation. So Cecil John Rhodes, he believed that gold reef, that is the gold-bearing rocks, they extended beyond the Limpopo River into Mashonaland and Matabeleland. Therefore, he hoped to find a second land, being the first land that was in South Africa. So Cecil John Rhodes, when he was in South Africa, he had that belief to say, this gold extends from South Africa going up into the Mashonaland or Matabeleland. So he wanted to extend his fortune seeking from South Africa, extending to Mashonaland and Matabeleland. Another factor that prompted the British interest was the imperialism. So after the Industrial Revolution, Europe wanted to acquire new lands in the foreign countries for agriculture, for business, as well as to support their population. Remember the Industrial Revolution? That one, it led to the development or the opening of the minds of the people, whereby now they wanted raw materials as well as trade. So to do that, they needed to have that imperialistic ideas, to have much territories to acquire resources or for market of their products. Also, settlement was the other interest. So the growing British population in South Africa resulted in the need for other places for settlement where similar resources and conditions existed. So we are talking of the British who were in South Africa. They had that interest to say, no, now we are many here in South Africa. We need to extend to other areas. So they were looking for the places that had similar conditions of South Africa. Hence, they found Southern Rhodesia to be of similar in nature. And also trade. Trade was another factor. Um, they wanted raw materials like gold, iron, ivory for their industries. At the same time, to establish markets for the manufactured goods. So imperialism, as we mentioned on imperialism, going together with the trade, because we are saying that industrial revolution, after industrial revolution, they wanted to acquire new lands for agriculture, business, and the like. And here we are talking of trade. We are saying that they wanted raw materials for their industries. And not only that, they also wanted markets for their manufactured goods. Also, humanitarian reasons were also the interest. They wanted to end slave trade. Remember, slave trade was still taking place in some places in Africa. So with that then, the British wanted to end slavery in Central Africa. And not only that, they also wanted to attain personal gains like that of Cecil John Rhodes. So Rhodes was an ambitious imperialist who had the dream to build the railway line from Cape to Cairo. So you see to it, Cecil John Rhodes, he had those imperialistic views to say, right, I want to extend the British territory from Cape Town to Cairo in Egypt, thereby extending the British influence. So many of the British also, they had similar views to say, all right, should we extend our territories or the British influence? It means that the British are going to have bigger lands. He also regarded southern Rhodesia as a good cattle land because of its pastures. So the whites also, they had that interest in southern Rhodesia for its pastures. And also the British, they wanted to encircle the Transvaal in order to force them to enter into federation with the British. So for them to achieve this, they wanted to landlock the Transvaal by landlocking the area north of Limpopo River. So we are talking of the Transvaal here. The Transvaal was the area that was occupied by the Dutch. So what we are saying here is that the British, they wanted to encircle the land that was occupied by the Dutch, that was the Transvaal in South Africa. So to do that, they wanted, after they encircle it and force that one to enter into federation, into a union with the British. So to do that, they wanted to go up to surround the Transvaal by going up the land that was beyond the Transvaal, which was beyond the Limpopo River. And the work of the Christian missionaries also was another interest. So the British wanted to protect their missionaries in southern Rhodesia. And also for prestige, the British were interested in southern Rhodesia for prestigious purposes, because the more the territories a European country had, the more it would be considered powerful. So they wanted to extend the power of influence of the British. Now, as we have mentioned, we have said that the British, they occupied through the company that was created by Cecil John Rhodes. Now, what were the strategies that were used by the British in occupying southern Rhodesia? Number one was the use of the British representatives, such as the missionaries. So they were the missionaries like John Smith Moffat, the son of Robert Moffat. Remember Robert Moffat, the one who worked together with David Livingstone. He was stationed in South Africa. And concession seekers, there were also the others who were also representative. For example, we talk of Charles Rhodes, James Rockford Maguire, and Frank Thompson. Also, they also used the British commercial companies. For example, we have already mentioned the British South African Company, the BSAC, the BSAC. So the British South African Company, let's look at this company. So this company, it was the company that was formed by Cecil John Rhodes after uniting many financial groups in South Africa to develop land north of Limpopo. So he did that by conniving with bigger companies, the British companies that were in South Africa, and he formed the BSA company. So the groups of those companies involved the Rockskilled, the De Beers, and the Consolidated Goldfields. So those were some of the companies that were amalgamated, that were joined together so that they form one big company, which was called the BSA company. So it was the one that was used to occupy southern Rhodesia. So let us look at the role. What role did this BSA company play in the occupation of southern Rhodesia? So this BSA company, it played a number of roles. Number one was that under Cecil John Rhodes, it fostered the signing of treaties. So there was, number one, the signing of treaties by the BSA company. And number two was it administered Southern Rhodesia on behalf of the British government. So the BSA company, it was looking after Southern Rhodesia on behalf of the British government. And also it played another role whereby the company sent the Pioneer Column to occupy Southern Rhodesia. So the Pioneer Column, we're going to talk about it very soon. It was dispatched by the BSA company to go to Southern Rhodesia from South Africa so that they occupy that land in Southern Rhodesia. And also another role was that the company fought and defeated the Ndebele and the Shona in the Shona-Ndebele uprising. So in this one, you see that after some time, the Shona, or the indigenous people in South Africa, they revolted against the company rule, and that the company had that responsibility, that role to suppress those rebellions. So it did that. So we have looked at some of the roles of the British South African Company in the occupation of Southern Rhodesia. Now, because we have said that one of the roles was the signing of treaties, so let's look at this one now, the signing of treaties. What were they, or what were the treaties? So the BSA company fostered the signing of treaties with the chiefs. So when we talk of a treaty in the first place, when we just mention a treaty, it is a formal agreement between two or more states or organizations on a particular issue. So a formal agreement between organizations on a certain issue. Whereby when we'll be talking of a concession in this lesson, therefore, we'll be talking of a grant. It is a grant or a license from a state to drill or mine minerals in a particular area. So that one is a concession. So we are going to talk of a treaty or treaties or concessions. So just know that the formal agreement between two organizations, a treaty. A concession, it is a license or a grant, a permission to say, okay, now you can drill the minerals from this area. So what happened was that in 1887, the agents of the Boer Republic, that is of the Transvaal, remember now the Transvaal, we have said that the Dutch, the area that was occupied by the Dutch in South Africa, it was called the Transvaal. So the agents of the Transvaal who were Peter and Frederick Grobler. They were the brothers. They signed a friendship treaty with Lobengula, who was the Ndebele king. So it was called the Grobler Treaty of 1887. So they signed an agreement, a formal agreement between Matebele people and the Transvaal. These were not the British. Now, the British, on the other hand, they did not recognize that one. They did not welcome that move at all. So that's what happened in 1887. So after the Grobler Treaty, there was what was called the Moffat Treaty of 1888 in February. 1888 February. So in 1888, Rhodes, or Cecil John Rhodes, he sent John Smith Moffat, the son of Robert Moffat, to negotiate an understanding with Lobengula. So you can see here, the businessman is sending a missionary to negotiate on behalf of the company. So John Smith Moffat was the son of Robert Moffat, as mentioned, of the London Missionary Society. So this Smith Moffat was familiar with to Lobengula since his days in Matebeleland as the head of the Inyati mission. So at one point in time, John Smith Moffat, he went with as a missionary there in Matebeleland, the Inyati mission. So with that, he was familiar with the Lobengula, the leader of the Ndebele. So Rhodes took advantage of the good relations which had already existed between Moffat and Lobengula. So you can see to it there. The question asked to say, why did the business person Cecil John Rhodes chose a missionary to go and negotiate the business issues with Lobengula? So the issue was that he took advantage. Cecil John Rhodes took advantage of the relations that were already there between Moffat and who was a British and Lobengula. So Robert Moffat, this one, John Smith Moffat, was able to persuade Lobengula to cancel the Grobler Treaty, that is of the Transvaal, and enter into the new agreement with the British. So there then he was sent on a mission, John Smith Moffat. He was sent on a mission to say, all right, you go there not representing the BSA company or not representing maybe Cecil John Rhodes. That gentleman, Lobengula, doesn't know all this. So go there representing the British government. So you are going there as a British envoy, as a British messenger, a representative of the Queen of Britain. So you go there and talk like a representative of the Queen so that you cancel. They cancel, or Lobengula cancels that first treaty with the Boers or the Dutch. So he went there. So after being satisfied that Moffat represented the great Queen of Britain, then Lobengula signed the treaty to say, all right, now we are cancelling the Grobler Treaty and we are entering into a new agreement with the Queen of Britain. It would be a pleasure for us, the people of Matebele, to be in union with the British government. So what were the terms? What were the terms that were agreed on this Moffat Treaty? So number one, he promised mutual friendship with the British by putting his country within the British sphere of influence. So Lobengula, number one, he said, all right, my country now is under the influence of the British. It is part of the British territories. And also, he agreed not to sign any other treaty without the consent of the British South African High Commissioner who was in South Africa. So there is a twist of issues. Who sent Moffat? You can see it was Cecil John Rhodes. It was not the British High Commissioner in South Africa. But then here it was a term now to say, all right, you Lobengula, you are not going to enter in any other agreement without the knowledge of the British South Africa the High Commissioner who is in South Africa. In other words, in disguise there, it was just an agreement to say there shall be no agreement between any other with any other parties without the knowledge of Cecil John Rhodes. So what was the reaction to the Moffat Treaty now? So the Portuguese and the Boers, they protested against the treaty, especially the Boers having done their first treaty already. Now, the Boers, they already hoped to win the Lobengula's trust for someone before the British efforts. And again, however, Lobengula accepted the treaty because it had independent witness, that is the Queen. He said, all right, the independent witness was the Queen, so therefore we are going to enter into this agreement. That's why Lobengula allowed that one. While the Global Treaty, it was just the two brothers went there to say we are representing the Transvaal government without maybe the formal representation of a witness. But here we see to it that there was a mention of the great Queen of Britain. Therefore, Lobengula took it at heart to say, now we are entering into friendship with the great Queen of Britain. Another one is now the road concession. Remember the concession? The license now, the road license. So Rhodes was still not comfortable with the Moffat Treaty because he saw to it as a temporary measure, and that Lobengula might realize that he would not be able to conduct foreign policy freely and might therefore cancel the treaty. Now, Cecil John Rhodes still he had those fears to say we have just signed that treaty, but then at some point in time maybe this Lobengula is going to realize that that the thing that he has signed is going to tighten him. He is not going to be flexible in his territory because he has signed to say he has put his country under the influence of another country. So maybe sometime he may think of cancelling it to say no, why should I be panic in my own country? Therefore this thing is cancelled. So to consolidate his position, Rhodes therefore he sent his own mission to Lobengula to negotiate a mineral concession now. So this time now it was a mineral concession that was to be signed. So the mission consisted of 3 carefully chosen men. So you have to understand these men that were chosen. Number 1 was Charles Rhodes. Charles Rhodes, that's why it is called Rhodes Concession after Charles Rhodes. So who was this one? This one was an associate. He was an associate at Kimberley. He was a business associate. They were working together with Cecil Rhodes at Kimberley in South Africa, and a member of the Rhodes De Beers company or consolidated company. So he was a member of the company of Cecil John Rhodes. And also the other 2 were Francis Thompson. So this Francis Thompson was also called Matebele Thompson because he was a fluent Nguni speaker and an expert in Nguni customs. So he knew the culture of the Nguni, although he was a white person, but he was a very, very fluent speaker of the Nguni. And also, Rhodes, he chose also a friend from Oxford days who was now a lawyer, and that one was Rockford Maguire. So the 3 who went there were Charles Rhodes and Francis Thompson and Rockford Maguire. They are the 3 people who were sent by Cecil John Rhodes to go there now and sign a more comprehensive agreement on minerals with Lobengula. Now, after they reached there, they reached a consensus or an agreement. So what did they agree? The terms of the road concession were that number 1, Lobengula agreed not to grant any mineral or land rights without Rhodes' approval. So here now, it was a clear indication to say who is now sending this agreement between Lobengula and the other part. So the other part was mentioned here to say no granting of minerals to anyone without Cecil John Rhodes' knowledge. Number two was that Lobengula gave permission to the British to do anything required to produce metals and minerals. He also gave permission. That's why it was called a concession. And also Lobengula to be receiving a monthly salary of £100 plus 1,000 rifles and 100 rounds of ammunition. That is the bullets. Also, Lobengula gave the whites complete and exclusive charge over all the metals and minerals in his kingdom. So the charge on the minerals, it was given on to the whites to say you can do whatever you want with the minerals that are within my territory. So the British here, they promised, as you can see, they promised £100 per month, 1,000 rifles and 10,000 rounds of ammunition, and also a gunboat to patrol Zambezi River for protection, or 100,000 or £100. And also only few Europeans were to settle in the Matabeleland and would be under the control of Lobengula. So those were the promises that the British, Cecil John Rhodes, promised Lobengula to say we are going to do these things. Now, why did Cecil John Rhodes, why did Lobengula of the Matebele, why did he sign the road concession? So number one was that he wanted guns to defend his kingdom from attacks. So guns were wanted to defend their kingdom. And again, he wanted the British to be his allies against the Portuguese, who were also interested in his area. So he could not manage to harbor maybe two European nations in his country. So he wanted one. So having that mind to say now he's related to the British, who are led by the great queen, therefore he wanted to be to the side of the British and get rid of the Portuguese. And also he was persuaded by Charles Helm. Charles Helm was a missionary in Matabeleland, and he was persuaded to trust Cecil John Rhodes. So Charles Helm, he talked good of Cecil John Rhodes to say he is a good person. He is a very rich person. He has companies and you are going to benefit a lot. Look at what he has promised here. He is going to give you all those things. So he was persuaded by the missionary Charles Helm. Now, what was the impact of the Moffat Treaty and the road concession that was signed by the British, especially Cecil John Rhodes? Number one was that they diffused the Boers and the Portuguese interest in the area. So with those signing of the two treaties, now the hopes for the Boers and the Portuguese to occupy Mashonaland or Matabeleland, their hopes now were diffused or they died out. And also, Rhodes got the mandate to control the area. So another impact was that Cecil John Rhodes, he had that impact to control the area in southern Rhodesia. And also, Lobengula unknowingly placed his territories under the British control. So another impact was that Lobengula, maybe it was because of education, he was not educated, so he could not understand clearly the concepts, but it happened that at the end of the day, he put all his territory under the British control. And there was an influx of concession seekers to Matabele land. So after that, we saw to it that many people were flocking to Matabele land to also seek the concession or permission from Lobengula. And later, Lobengula realized that he had given too much to Rhodes concession. So he was told by E.A. Mound that Rhodes' intention was to take control of the whole Matebele land. So he was told, he was advised later to say, what you have signed here, it means that the one who is the owner, the holder of this concession, is now given the total control and is going to take all your land from you. Then Lobengula tried to send his Indunas to visit the Queen Victoria in England in 1888 with the aim of withdrawing the Rhodes concession, but they were unsuccessful. Even the letter from the Queen also indicated that he had given too much to the British. So here, what happened was that later on, after E.A. Mount told him that now, my friend Lobengula, you have lost your land. It means here you have agreed to put your land under the control of the British. Therefore, he realized. Then he said, no, I will send my people to meet the great Queen of Britain, because those people said they were sent by the Queen. So I'm going there to cancel this one. So they started off. So the journey was from South Africa, from Matabeleland going to South Africa, where they could catch maybe the ship going to England. But when they reached South Africa, they were delayed there for months. The reason was that Cecil John Rhodes, he saw to it that these people, when they reach there and they meet the Queen to say, we have come to cancel that agreement, maybe it will surprise the Queen to say, what agreement did I make with you? So they were delayed there, those Indunas, they were delayed so that Cecil John Rhodes goes first to meet with the British government or the Queen there. So there then, that's where it comes the Royal Charter. So the Royal Charter, it was a formal document by the Queen with the evidence of granting mineral concession to mine in southern Rhodesia. So after signing the Rhodes concession, Cecil John Rhodes went to London to secure the Royal Charter or the Royal Agreement, the Royal Authority in 1889 under the British South African Company. So the Royal Charter was like the backing from the British government. So that's what happened there. So you can connect it easily there to say, all right, when those Indunas of Lobengula were about to go, they were delayed in South Africa to say, no, maybe the transportation, we are going to pay for you the transport to England, wait, while Cecil John Rhodes goes first. So he went there to seek the Royal Charter, and he managed to do that before the Indunas arrived there. So the charter, however, took long to be granted because of opposition. Number one, Lobengula felt tricked. He felt tricked to say no. I think those people who came here, they are not the true people representing the Queen. So it took time to be taken or to be granted. And also the missionary groups in both Britain and South Africa, they also wanted the protectorate status. And also the charter took long because the British government was afraid of administrative cost. Because when Cecil John Rhodes went there presenting it, it was like to say now the British should take charge of taking care of southern Rhodesia. Therefore, the British government was not ready. It was not ready to take care of or to meet the cost of administering that new area. So the charter then was given only in October 1889. That's when the charter was given, after it was observed that the administration of the area would cost Britain nothing, and the charter was renewable every 25 years. So therefore, Rhodes there, he just wanted the British signature, the Queen's signature. He presented it clearly to say, we have joined the companies a group of companies that are going there to do business. But as we are going to do business, we are also going to manage that area politically so that it should be known to be under the British. Thence, the British government was convinced to say, all right, because the British government is going to cost nothing or to pay nothing in the administering of this area, then go ahead and administer that area, because we are not paying you anything. Just go there. You are just carrying the name to say you are administering under the British government. But this administration, you are going to do it 25 years, then later on we are going to renew it like that every 25 years. So that was the charter. It stipulated that they were going to be renewing that administration of that area in 25 years. Now, what were the terms that were stipulated in the Royal Charter? So the Charter, it gave permission to the company to explore and mine all the minerals according to the Rhodes concession. So now there was a link there, you can see the link to say that Rhodes concession, it gave mineral rights to the company, and no one else was supposed to do that except Cecil John Rhodes. So the British government also put that emphasis to say, all right, the BSA company now is going to do everything. It is going to mine everything according to what they have agreed in the Rhodes concession. And also it gave the company the right to colonize Central Africa. So it was the BSA company was given power now to say, go and colonize Central Africa. Go and govern that area. It should be under the British South African company representing the British government. And it also empowered the company to raise a powerful police force in order to maintain law and order in that region. So the BSA company was also mandated to say, all right, as you go there, administering of the land, it requires the police. So go and make the police, create the police. You are going to pay it yourself. You know how to administer it. Then you enforce law and order in that region so that things should go on well.